Well, hey there, friend. Welcome back to the Jesus Girl Gang Kingdom Business Podcast. I'm your host, Erica Pyle. I am a Christian business coach, a pastor, a process engineer, online launch strategist. And today, I want to talk to you about why your kingdom business keeps falling apart right before the launch. So, I don't know if this is an experience that you've been having in terms of like your entire business, or if it's just something that a particular offer that you're trying to launch, or if it's that you're trying to pivot inside of your business and offer something new and it's launching a crickets, or you're not getting to that finish line, you're not getting to the launch pad. And I got to tell you something. I work with people like this, women like this every single day. And it's the same story. We are so convicted and know that God has called us to do this business. And we know that we have it in us. But as we get moving towards that goal of launching the business, something happens. Maybe you've been there. The tech breaks, right? Confidence cracks. Life happens. You pause, you regroup. Maybe you think to yourself, I'm going to switch strategies. I'm going to try something new, right? And you tell yourself, well, I guess this wasn't the right season. I'm going to have to try again. And now here it is, maybe weeks, months, even years. I'm serious, even years later. Is this you? And it's like 3 years later, 6 years later. I'm not saying that, and you're still not launched. I'm not saying that because I'm trying to make it dramatic. I'm telling you that the women that I have inside of my mentorship community right now, a large majority of these women have this story. And heck, I had this story of being after it for many, many months and even years, and doing the strategy switching thing, trying to figure out the tech, like getting taken out because the market shifted or because something worked for someone else a certain way and I couldn't get it to work that way for me. And so I just was like, oh man, I'm never going to figure this out. And like I said, I've got these women in my community that are experiencing this. When they come in, this is their story. And so today I want to talk about exactly what's happening and what to do about it so that you don't keep on in this spiral or in this stuckness. All right. So that's what we're going to get into. So here's the pattern. You have an idea, a God idea, right? And you're like, okay, I know that God is calling me to do this. I know that this is something that I'm passionate about. You may think to yourself, this is how I serve people. Like it's something that comes easy to you. It's something that you're really fired up about. You know that like this is the thing that God has called you to serve a certain group of people with. And so you go to work researching, you go to work watching the YouTube videos, you get the freebies, the downloads, you find some people online who are experts in this area, and you think to yourself, okay, I'm going to follow them. I'm going to just do whatever it is that they're doing, and I'm just going to make it work for my business. But inevitably what happens is you find yourself, it's just not working. And when that happens, let me just put it to you plainly, because these are the kinds of DMs or messages, or when I'm on a call with a client, these are the kinds of things that they tell me. So they'll say something like, Erica, I know that I'm called to this and I know that I'm meant to do it. And then I get my act together. I have a plan. I know all the pieces that I need to put together. So maybe I know I need to like set up an email list, or I need to have a place to collect leads, or I need a place to do a landing page. I need my social media to be looking right. And so I do all of these things, and then I define my offer and stuff like that. And I know what I want to offer, but something happens, and what they're telling me is I get 80 to 85% of the way to finished. And then something happens, and I think to myself, I cannot do this right now. That's the thing. It's not like it's a hard stop. Like, it's not like something happens that it just like it's impossible. It's just that the mental roadblock right there. So what is it? What are the things that generally will cause you to have a stop like that? I see it as, I have girls that are like, you know what? The tech isn't working. You can't figure out how to get the right pieces of tech that you need and put them all together in a way that they're talking together, they're working together, and you have a good flow. In the world that I work in, that's called the funnel, right? You've got to set up a funnel. You have this offer, you want to get it to a particular group of people. And so you set up a funnel, and that means top of funnel is where you attract your ideal customer. And then in the middle is where you're kind of like helping them to get situated in your community, in the gathering, knowing what you have to offer, knowing who you are, knowing how you serve. And then ultimately, you've got to give them a way to choose to buy from you. And all of that requires a funnel, which requires technology. Now, I understand that we've been through years and years of these influencers out here on Instagram, TikTok, telling you that all you need is a social media platform and a way to take people's money. Like, I literally see people blowing up if they are truly influencers. There's a guy that I watch, he's like so motivational, but at the end of every one of his videos, he's like, now Venmo me $5. He now has a funnel, and he actually has a landing page, and he has something that he's selling. But for a while, just as an influencer, he was like, I'm giving you my best out here through my content. I'm a content creator, and now you can Venmo me $5. But chances are that if you're listening to this podcast episode, you are not you're not that. You're not like a content creator, online influencer. You most likely are either a coach, a community leader, a course creator, some kind of a digital product. Maybe you sell a set of physical products. Maybe you're in network marketing and you have products that you attach coaching or services to. Maybe you're a services provider, okay? And all of those things require, if you're going to make impact and income online, you need a funnel. And in order to have a funnel that functions, you've got to have the right tech that goes together. Okay. And so this is where a lot of my girls, they get stuck because it's like, I signed up for the free email, and then I signed up for this free like thing on Canva where I could create my website, and that I signed up for this free thing over here. And Erica, I can't figure out how to make them all talk together. And I'm like, the free versions don't. Like, you might be able to get a Zap, done in Zapier or something that maybe can hold it together with like virtual duct tape. But the free versions of things are not designed to work together in any kind of a coordinated automation. And so this generally tends, when something stops working, the landing page doesn't work, you can't test out the leads so that they're actually going onto your email list, and you can't get it to send out the opt-in that they opted in for. The tech breaks, and you're just like, I can't do this right now. And then what generally happens next, or it could happen separately, but I see it happening a lot when either the tech breaks or something else in the system, the process breaks, your confidence cracks. You start second guessing. And what's crazy is a lot of times our confidence cracks not because we're not the girl for the job, not because we're not, capable of doing it, we're not called to do it. We're not batting above our potential. We really aren't. If God called you to this business, you're good. Your confidence comes from him. But what I have found is that when something in the process of launching our business or an offer breaks, our confidence cracks. And then we start to this is what's so weird. We don't think about the tech necessarily. We might blame the tech, but then we don't think to ourselves, man, maybe I should be looking for an all-in-one platform that puts all of this together and is easy. Because a lot of times when we're at the beginning of our process, we're thinking to ourselves, what's the cheapest way that I can put this together? Can I tell you something, sister? Entrepreneurship is not cheap. You, as a kingdom entrepreneur, you have to start to understand the concept of sowing and reaping. If you're not sowing into this entrepreneurial business of yours, the one that God called you to, you're not going to reap. And you might think like, oh, here's Erica giving the pitch for something. She wants to take my money. Listen, sister, no. I will take your money because I know that I can help you to get over these hurdles. I'll definitely do that because that's the way that God called me and made me to serve. But at the end of the day, that should not be a hurdle for you thinking like, oh, people are out here trying to take my money. I should be able to figure it out on my own. Because at the end of the day, a kingdom principle is you've got to sow to reap. Jesus said, you reap what you sow, right? The measure. He said this in Luke 6. He said, the measure that you use to give, to pour out, is the measure that will be used to give back to you. There is this principle of I've got to sow in faith. And that means like it's an action. It's not just like, oh, well, I'm going to believe God. And then, you've got to actually invest. You've got to invest in your business. And a lot of times I see this. This is such a problem that it kind of like there are no, listen, I'm just going to get really real with you because I'm very passionate about this topic. Okay. There are a lot of coaches, especially Christian coaches, that will not touch this topic. Because if you come into my coaching space or into a coach's space and you say, look, I don't have a lot of money to do this. I don't want to use the family's money. My husband has said that, like I can't spend. I have to make money first in order to spend. But like most coaches are not going to argue with you about that. They're just going to be like, okay, let's figure out with what you have, what we can do. And I will definitely, if you're talking to me about that, I will. But believe you me, I will also tell you, but you could go faster and you could get a better result if you decided to sow this much into your business. I have no problems about that because I've seen it over and over and over again. I've been there. I have tried with the thing because I have a husband who is very supportive of my business, but in the early days when I was learning, I was spending hand over fist to learn how to do my business. And there was a place in me that I was like, I don't want to spend any more of our money on this. I need to show some results. But he was even in on the conversation where I finally realized, you know what? If I want to get the right result here, I'm going to have to use the right tool. And so what happens a lot of times is because we don't want to spend the money, because we won't want to make the investment, we start to look at, well, what else could it be? And I got to tell you something. When you don't diagnose this problem right and you start looking away from the sewing issue, that's generally when confidence starts to crack. Because if nothing's working, the answer is likely that you need to sow in to receive, to actually grow and to have something to harvest. But you're like, no, I can't do that. So let's second guess the offer. Let's second guess the pricing. Let's second guess the strategy. Let's second guess and this is where confidence cracks. And that can actually bust your launch. Another one that I see is perfectionism. Okay, in my community, I have this saying. I took it from someone. I don't remember where I took it from. So if it was you, let me know and I will give you credit. But B+ ships. That B+ ships, friend. That means if it's a social media post, if it's an opt-in, if it is your sales page. I know that in this world, we feel like everything is so competitive. We feel like we're competing for people's attention. And so we think it has to be perfect. And we think that the launch will only work if everything is perfect. But really what this is, I'm going to tell you what this is dressed up as. Perfectionism, all it's doing is trying to give you an out. You feel nervous about something else in the launch. You are nervous that it's not going to work. You're nervous that you're going to launch to crickets. You're nervous. And so you decide, you know what? I've got to rework this a little bit more. I'm just gonna hold it back. We'll delay the launch and I will work on it some more. But listen to me, sis, it's never gonna be perfect. You know this, it's never gonna be perfect. And if you start to realize that B- should ship, big companies, huge companies work on this principle. All software companies work on this principle. That's what a beta test is, okay? They ship stuff out when they know that there are bugs in it. They know that there are problems, but they've done the cost analysis to determine if we hold this back any longer, we're not going to be able to make the money that we need to sustain the rest of the development, and we will wind up with a product that never sells. So you've got to realize that works in entrepreneur land as well. You cannot let perfectionism hold you back from launching. You got to get to B+. And here's the thing. I get it because you're out there all alone. Okay? Stop doing it alone. And this is another thing that sometimes I say that's quite offensive to beginning entrepreneurs. Listen, you're not a beginning entrepreneur if you've been slogging it out here for 3, 4, 5, 6 years. You're not a beginner. Just because you haven't launched anything or you haven't launched the offer that you want to launch doesn't mean that you're a beginner because you haven't launched yet. If you've been working at this business for weeks and months and years, right? Months and years, you're not a beginner anymore. And so when we think about that and we let perfectionism win, And if that's a pattern that you keep on seeing in your world, I need to encourage you to get a coach in a community. You need to be in a community with a coach, because what I have seen, this is one of the hurdles that holds girls back the most that I work with. And when they come into the room where there's coaching and community, they move immediately. They move immediately, because one of the things that I can do as a coach is I can be like, no, that's good enough. Ship it. Ship it. Oh, but this. I'm like, no, it is B plus. Get it out there. Fix it behind the scenes. You can always send them a new one. It's fine. Like, get it moving. Start testing whether this thing will sell anyway. Because that's the thing that we don't understand as kind of, entrepreneurs who haven't, online business owners who haven't yet launched something yet, is you think like everything is going to launch to this incredible celebration and everything, like it's going to just work, right? If I work on it long enough and I perfect it, then it's just going to work. Can I tell you something? Like literally like 7 times out of 10, it won't work the first time. Literally. I need to tell you this, like there is a resilience that needs to be built on the inside of us as online entrepreneurs to understand that the first time you launch something, it's not hardly ever going to work out of the gate. It's going to take repetition. It's going to take refreshing. It's going to take tweaking. But that only happens. You can only learn those things when you launch. You can only learn those things when you get it out there. And then people will give you feedback and they'll be like, oh, this didn't work for me. But then they'll be like, oh, but this really hit, this slapped. And then you're like, okay, so I can go back and I can work it. And then you can put out version 2.0. And then you've got that momentum in there and you've got the confidence in there to keep going. Is this making sense to you? And then the last way that I see people getting stuck at about 80–85% to the launch line is that life happens. Literally something in your life will pull your focus. Like, and you just make the decision that, well, this doesn't get priority right now because life is happening. I was talking to one of my clients this morning. She is the first client that I ever helped years ago to get to $5,000 months. And she did it in a very contracted amount of time because she decided that she was going to do it. And she knew she needed a coach in a community to get it done fast. She was so smart in that. And so we got together years ago and we put this thing together. Well, now she's finding that her business is shifting because she's moving, and what she was doing previously was a bricks and mortar business, and now she's having to pivot to online. And this has been the case for a few years, but guess what? She's been having tech issues. Her confidence is cracked here and there. She's been perfectionistic about certain things. And I finally got her under call this morning and I was like, listen, sis, it's time. But the biggest thing that was a hurdle for her was life happening. She's like, Erica, I am moving. I have so many things going on in the next 2 months. I don't think that I can do this. And what I reminded her of, and I'll remind you of, is that, the Proverbs 31 woman, she had 5 pillars of purpose. 5. Read it. Proverbs 31 verses 10 to 31. Okay. She was a godly daughter. She was a godly wife. She was a godly mother. She was a godly sister friend, and she was a godly entrepreneur. And her life worked when that one purpose operated through all 5 pillars. And so we need to understand that even when life happens, I get it that we have priorities, but sometimes we underestimate, sister, what the life force and the grounding that God wants to put through this entrepreneurial thing that we're doing. And instead of looking at it like the straw that broke the camel's back, it would be so much better if you looked at this entrepreneurial calling that he placed on your life as something that improves the other 4 pillars of purpose, or serves the other 4 pillars of purpose, or works in conjunction with. What I had to say to her when she was talking about this life event happening and the move and just all the stress and the struggle and the strain, and she's trying to keep it all together. And I was like, you know what? This is your passion. And when you step into serving people in the way that you do, I see you get so grounded so quickly. I see you light up. I see your, life coming to every part of your body. And that includes these other parts of your life. And so what if you thought about this more as a grounding and as an empowerment, and less as like, I don't have room for that. And she was like, that's good. So she's going to work on her business even through the transition, right? So here's the thing though. Whenever we have the tech break, the confidence cracking, the perfectionism that decides to press out and tell us we're not ready yet, or life happening, okay? It seems that what we do, especially as women, is we will start to blame ourselves. We'll say things like, what's wrong with me? Maybe I heard God wrong, right? Maybe I'm not cut out for this. Maybe I'm not the girl for the job. Sister, you are God's girl for the job. He called you to this, okay? There's nothing wrong with you. All you did was hit a wall that every single kingdom builder hits when they try to build alone with only one tool. That's it. This is not a problem with you. It's not a discipline problem. It's not a calling problem. It's not an intelligence problem. Listen, it's not even a strategy problem. I know you've been switching through all the strategies trying to figure out which one is going to work to get your business launched, to get that offer launched. But it's not even a strategy problem, because here's the deal. You cannot launch a business, an offer, or a pivot in your business with just a strategy, because it's just one part of the problem. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go back and listen to last week's episode. But it's what I talked about last week. You have a pattern problem. You have a full pattern problem. In Exodus 25, God gives Moses the full pattern for how to build the tabernacle. And only one piece of it was strategy. It was framework, right? He gave him the picture of what the tabernacle should look like. But the other thing that he gave to the people to build the tabernacle was Moses as a guide, because he was getting the download. He was a little bit ahead of them. He could tell them what they needed to build because he had the download. But then God gathered a community. Moses did not put the curtains together. Moses did not bang the gold on top of the acacia wood for that tabernacle. He had a community of builders working alongside him, okay? And he was the guide. So it's a framework, a guide, a community, and then there were systems. In the tabernacle example, it was the tools and the materials needed to build the tabernacle. But those are all four pieces of the pattern. It's the framework, the guide, the community, and the systems. And when any of these four pieces is missing, you're going to stall at the same place pretty much every single time, 80 to 85% launched. That tends to be right at the end of where like you need to actually launch, because launch is where all four pieces of that pattern are going to get tested at the same time. Yeah, I know that when you first start out building, you probably need the framework and the systems. But when you get stuck, when something isn't working, that's when you need the guide and the community. And then once you get to the place where your coach is saying, look, B+ ships, you need to move, right? That's where you need that community encouraging you. And when you get to launch, it can feel a little bit overwhelming. I just did a launch where it was crickets for the first week of my ads. I was freaking. And thank goodness I have a guide. Thank goodness I have a community, because framework and systems will get you to Meta Ads Manager and it will get you to how to set those up. But when they're not working and you want to throw in the towel, sister, guide and community all day long. So when any four of those pieces are missing, you're going to stall pretty much at the same place. And like I said, that place tends to be right at the edge of the launch. So tech needs systems, confidence needs the guide and the community, and perfectionism needs the framework and the accountability that that community provides. Life happening needs the community to hold you up, so that if for some reason you need to step away or take a break, you don't lose the confidence of the build that you've already done. So I need you to hear me in this. If this is where you are, if this is where you've been, and you know that this has been happening for you, that you've been trying to launch and you just can't get to the finish line with it, you just can't get it launched, know that A, I've been there before. B, I work with all the women that I work with have the same story. And what I can tell you is you've not been failing. All that's happening is you've been trying to build with one tool. You've been trying to build with a strategy and maybe some duct tape together systems. And one tool with duct tape together tech cannot carry a launch. It will be like if you've ever watched something, you know, they test the rocket launch and it blows up before it gets anywhere. Sister, there we are. So I keep telling you that I have women in my community that this happens to and that this is their story. And I have this one gal in my community. Her name is Janet, and she joined me at the end of last year. And Janet's story is that she'd been trying for years. She is a coach. She's a money coach, and she's got a brilliant idea for what she wants to do. But the interesting thing was she had started out her coaching business in a slightly different, for a slightly different ICA, slightly different ideal customer. And when she came to me, she was like, well, I've got this going on over here and it's kind of good. Like, it's fine. It's not anything like massive. She's like, I'm still working my business, my current day job. She's like, but my goal is to leave this day job and really just work my business. But I want to pivot my topic a little bit. I want to pivot my IC. And I was like, great, let's do it. And so we began to work through her business that she wanted to build. At the time that she came in, her story in her own words was, for years, I had so many great ideas to launch this business, but I didn't take action. So right there, that is falling apart pattern in Janet's words. But maybe those are your words too. Maybe you're like, I have this great idea and I want to do this, but I'm not taking action. Years of ideas, right? Years of false starts, years of next quarter promises. But you're like, I don't know why this isn't working. So she came to a workshop that I did at the end of the year, and she just like, we did something called Voxer coaching. So in my workshops, I do a week. Whenever I do a workshop, I do a Voxer week of coaching, group coaching. So we get into a Voxer thread together, a community. And I just encourage you to bring whatever it is you're working on in the workshop, to bring it to me. I'll give you feedback. I'll coach you through things. I'll review assets that you're building. And this is for an entire week. And Janet came in there into that Voxer coaching community, and all of a sudden she realized what was missing. She realized, oh my goodness, I didn't have this kind of feedback. And that's what a coach can provide, is that level of feedback that's like, you know what, I've been there. I've seen this before. Let's tweak it a little bit and see if this doesn't work faster for you. And Janet had this experience in 1 week, okay? She's now in my mentorship, but I'm telling you, this shift happened for her in 1 week. And talk about the other pieces of the pattern. So we talked about a strategy, a framework idea of what she wanted to build. She had that. But she didn't have the pattern for how to build the whole thing out. She got that when she came into my workshop. And then she got the coaching in the community inside of this Voxer thread. And we started banging it out. And I reviewed all of her stuff that week. And she got momentum. She got moving. But then there were tools inside of the workshop that she grabbed a hold of. Specifically, these AI prompts that I give in my workshops to help people to define and focus at their ideal offer, prompts for how to identify and attract your ideal customer, and also for how to write messaging, especially like things like sales pages and landing pages and stuff. And when she came into that workshop, her feedback after that workshop was, Erica's AI prompts helped me nail my ultimate offer. I wanted to do them all right away. And that week of Voxer coaching community is absolute fire. She says, now I have a clear offer and a pathway that is giving me the confidence and the focus so that I finally share my business. Since she's been working with me, she started up her social media feeds. She's been sharing, she's been growing her email list, and she's about ready to launch her intro offer. And this is years of stalling, okay? And the wheels stopped coming off when she stopped trying to build it all alone. Is this you? It wasn't a discipline upgrade, because I got to tell you something. This girl, my friend Janet, she is a hard worker. You give her homework and she goes and she does it and she brings it back for the next coaching meeting. And it's never about the discipline. You are not lazy. I know that about you. You are disciplined. You have the call, you have the conviction, you've learned a lot of the skill sets. So it wasn't discipline. It wasn't even a calling upgrade. It was a pattern upgrade. She needed all the pieces of the pattern. And this isn't just her story. I need you to understand. I have Peggy in my community. That's the same story. I've got Sarah in the community. That's the same story. I have Tiffany in the community. That's the same story. It's just story after story, same. So you don't have to feel like it's just you. But also, you should know that if this solution worked for them, that it'll probably work for you too. Okay. Now, maybe you're listening and you're thinking, but Erica, I'm not even sure if my idea that I have for my business is good enough yet. I'm stuck there. Like, I've started messing around with landing pages or an opt-in or my social media feeds for my business, but I'm just not sure if my idea is good enough yet. And so maybe I need to figure that out first. Listen to me. I need you to hear me. Clarity does not come through more deliberation. Clarity comes through doing. I'm going to say something really shocking to you right now. The clarity that you're looking for, the confidence that you're looking for, it doesn't even come through more prayer. I know this is so hard, but I'm a pastor and a preacher of the Word of God, a teacher of the Word of God, so I'm going to give you theology, okay? But faith without works is dead. And at some point, you're going to have to start putting your faith into action. If God said it, that settles it. You need to start moving. And the science behind this shows that clarity actually comes from doing. Your idea doesn't get clearer by thinking about it harder or more. It gets clearer when you sit down and define who it is that you serve and what transformation you deliver. And then that process is your idea validation, okay? You're not skipping that step. Okay, you're not skipping ahead by doing this work. But then once you have that in hand, it's time to start actioning. Okay, you're doing the thing. That is what is going to bring clarity. And I can show you biblical story after biblical story after biblical story. I mean, come on, Gideon already. He's like, there's no way. And God's like, oh, I'll show you. And he just keeps on bringing him forward, bringing him forward. Gideon did not get clarity for how to beat the Midianites because he sat down and thought about it in the winepress longer. He did it because he obeyed and he moved. And I'm telling you, if you want clarity, clarity comes through action. Okay. And then clarity that comes through action, it will give you the ability to upgrade, to fix, to tweak on the fly as you move. Okay. The Bible doesn't say stand still and figure it out. It says go and make disciples. Go be doers of the word, not hearers only, right? And so it's really important that you get this concept. You're not going to be able to pray your way into clarity. I know that when we pray, we get incredible revelation and encouragement and peace and all kinds of things straight from the throne room. But there's going to come a moment when God's going to be like, I gave you everything that I can give you. Now you need to move your feet. And when it comes to building a kingdom business, I can almost guarantee you that if you're listening to this episode, your time is now. So what are you waiting for? Okay? Listen. Faith doesn't get tested in deliberation. It gets tested in the doing. That's the truth. The pray and think and pray some more pattern is itself part. That is part of what's keeping you stuck. I need you to hear me. This is I don't know how to express. There are things that I teach in my mentorship, and a lot of times I think, I don't want to talk about that on my podcast because it'll dilute the value of what people are paying for in my community. But then there are these things in my heart that I'm like, I cannot put a price tag on this. And to me, it's like preaching the gospel in a sense because in a way it is. I mean, I'm telling you, faith without works is dead. And, this pray and think and pray some more pattern, it actually will keep you stuck because you think that that's discernment. It's actually micro doubt. You think that that's wisdom. It's washing away the perfect timing. I say this thing to my church a lot of times, when we come to a place where we feel like we're stuck or where we're not accelerating at the level that we want to, or we're not getting up the mountain the way we want to. Many years ago, the Lord spoke this word to me to speak to my church, and it stuck with me, and I think it applies here. It was at a time when we felt like we couldn't break through. And God said to us, you are not in a pit. You are on a plateau, perfectly positioned to go to the next level in Christ Jesus. I feel that that's for one of you, for some of you. You feel like you're in a pit and like you're stuck, but you're not. You're just on a plateau. You've gone as far as you can go. You now need some tools, a Sherpa, a guide, and a community, an encouraging community to get to that next level. But you're on the plateau and you're perfectly positioned right where you are to go to the next level in Christ Jesus. And that position is listening to this podcast right now. Seriously, You need this faith injection right now. God did not call you to research a launch. He called you to launch your business, the business that he gave you. Hebrews 11, every name in that chapter is followed by what they did. By faith, Abel offered. By faith, Noah built. By faith, Abraham went. Yeah? Not by faith, Abraham thought really hard about whether he was ready to go. God doesn't typically give you the next step of where you're going until you've taken the current one. That's not with him withholding. That's him refining. That's him preparing. That's him providing for you. So you've got to understand that this is the cadence that God works in. He's going to tell you to move, and he's only going to give you the first step or two. And you've got to start moving. That's what proves that you trust God at his word. And listen, the call wasn't ever, in any of these cases, to figure it out alone. The call was to build. The call was to go and to establish. The call was to go and raise up. The call was to go and free. The call was to have that person move in their purpose and see God move in response. Do you hear me? And so if you've got this business that God has given you, you've got to start moving. You know, Nehemiah had families building the wall sections right beside him. They were doing it in community. Jesus sent the disciples 2 by 2. They were doing it in community. Paul partnered with Priscilla and Aquila to plant all those churches, along with other people too, Titus, Timothy, all of them. He did it in community. You were never designed to do this in isolation, and isolation is part of the problem. Not your readiness, not your idea, not your discipline. So having that framework is great, having the idea, but having a framework is even better. Having a guide and a community, awesome. And then adding the systems and the tools that you need is what rounds out that 4-part pattern. It's so important. So here's what I want to tell you. If everything that I just talked to you about is hitting you, like you feel so convicted, you recognize this about your own pattern when I described it, about getting stuck right before the point of launching. If you know that's you, there is a room where you can do something about this week. It's called the Jesus Girls Business Launch Lab. It's my workshop that I run. It's running Monday through Wednesday of next week, June 15th to the 17th. It's 3 days live with me on Zoom where I help to work with you to define your offer that you can actually launch your business with. You will dial in your ideal customer messaging so that you can attract your right fit customer, and we'll draft a sales page so that it's conversion ready. We're going to do that live in the workshop. And then we take it into the Voxer thread and I coach you around your business and what you're building. Okay? There's 2 bonus sessions on either end of the workshop. On Sunday, we're going to go after kingdom mindset for entrepreneurs. And on Thursday, we're going to talk about the tech stack, because I got to tell you something. This duct tape tech stack, it kills me when you come with it. I know what you're trying to do, but sister, there's a better way. All right. So the full pattern that I just talked to you about, the framework, right? The strategy framework, the guide, the community, the tools and systems, you can find it all in one place. It's called the Jesus Girls Business Launch Lab. And right now it's just $33 to grab your seat to be in the room. But here's why I want you to get on this immediately. I opened up a discount code for this yesterday. Here's the thing. I don't ever put out discount code for just random public. Like, I'll do it for my alumni. I'll do it for people who have done a different course with me or a different workshop, because I'm like, you got a little bit of this already, so I don't want you to pay the full price. So I give them a discount, but I've never given a discount on my programs just from the word jump, but I'm doing it. And the reason that I'm doing it is because I was noticing that there are some women that are getting stuck in deliberation. Okay. Now, I don't want to sidetrack it right now, but suffice it to say, I have some really powerful tools that you would also have access to that can look at your sales page, your landing page, and it can tell you what people are doing when they hit your sales page. And it became very clear after a few days of watching this sales page and the habits of the people that landed there, that what my girl is doing is she's opening up the sales page, she's opening it in an external browser, and she's never getting back to it. And then she sees another ad and she opens it up again. And now she's scrolling down to the FAQs and she's looking at it and she's like, $33. It's live. I don't know if I can make it live. It's a week of replays. Will I be able to do it? I'm like, sis, you have no idea. The first 10 minutes of this workshop is worth $33. However, if you need a little help getting off the fence, I want you to use this discount code to save $10. Okay. It's save 20. Save 10. Save 20. That doesn't exist. Don't try it. Save 10. Okay. If you use that code at checkout, when you grab your seat, you'll get it for $23. You can go to jesusgirlgang.com/launchlab and you can put in save 10 as the coupon code and it will save your seat for $23. Now listen, the code expires on Sunday. So the minute you hear this, I want you to get over there and I want you to save your seat. Doors close to the Launch Lab registration on Monday at noon Eastern because that's when we kick off day 1. So I don't want you missing this, okay? I want you to get in there and I want you to get your seat and I want you to join me inside that room so I can help you with all 4 pieces of that pattern, sister, because it's time. You know it's time. I know it's time. You didn't hear God wrong. You're not the wrong girl for the job. You're not broken. You're not behind. You just need the full pattern. And it would be my absolute honor, pleasure, joy to hand that to you inside the Launch Lab this week. So go to jesusgirlgang.com/launchlab, use the code SAVE10 through Sunday, grab your seat for $23, and I will see you in the room. All right, friend? That is the next best step for you. You know, I get it. Like, it can be frustrating to feel stuck at this spot. But what if just 3 days of getting into that room with me and doing the work could get you unstuck? What if after that workshop, you walk out with everything that you need to launch and you can do it? That is the reality of what has happened for so many women before you. It's your turn. Let's launch your business, sis. All right. I hope to see you there. Go to jesusgirlgang.com/launchlab. Use code SAVE10 and I'll see you inside. We start on Monday. All right. I hope that was helpful. If you have thoughts, questions, find me on Instagram. Let's chat about it. Otherwise, I'll see you back here next week, same time, same channel. Bye for now.